Hello there YouTube, PolarBear084 here, back with another episode of A Bear's Guide to Hunting. And today, oh today, what a quest we have on our hands. We have not one, but two giant, angry, flying wyverns to deal with. And while it may seem like a lot at first glance, this quest, with the right preparation and just a little bit of foreknowledge, is actually not too bad. So let's see what we have. Obviously, we have our normal stuff. You know, potion, mega potion, all that good stuff. You know, the stuff you always carry with you into the field. And then after that, we only have two additions: 2 Demondrugs and 2 Armourskins, and whatever we got from the chest, which includes some flash bombs. And so the reason for that is that the equipment is doing most of the heavy lifting. Yian Garuga set, you've seen this before, really good. It's got fire resistance, which is helpful in and of itself, reasonable defense for this level, and also expert and sharpness, which are two things that we appreciate a lot in Monster Hunter. But the star of the show is this Kirin Thundersword, and we got this from our last week's prey, which was the Kirin, which you'll link to up there if you want to take a look at that. So the Kirin Thundersword is fantastic because it has quite a lot of green sharpness, which is all we'll need for this, and a absurd, frankly ridiculous level of thunder attribute. And that is useful because both Rathalos and Rathian, the targets of today's quest, are weak to thunder, and they're both weakest to it on their head. So we're going to be using that to our advantage considerably. So what makes this quest quite special is that I think it is kind of keyed into the quest that you will always find, I think it's Rathalos in Area 4, and then Wrathian will always join. And I'm just saying that from experience because every time I've done this quest, which is quite a few, because it's pretty good for money, he is in Area 4. However, of course, this time he's in Area 3 because he likes to prove me wrong. Alright, so here he is, Rathalos. The creature on the face of this game, or of Monster Hunter Freedom, Monster Hunter at least, kind of the mascot of Monster Hunter in many ways. And unlike Pikachu, he will rip you in half without thinking about it. So this is his favorite thing to do. He will get in the air and he will shoot or a lot of fireballs at you, or he will just claw you, which poisons. So beware of that. Both Rathalos and Rathian poison. You might ask, why did you not bring any antidotes? That's because when I first fought them, I didn't really need them. I would recommend you bring them for sure. But if you kind of pay attention to some of the tricks I'm using here, then you'll probably not end up using them. The largest or most important trick to be aware of with Rathalos is that when he's in the air, if you stand directly underneath you, he cannot hit you. Simply unable to hit you. This is an issue with the way he kind of targets, and the fireballs are shot at, I would say, roughly a 35-25 degree angle to the ground, and his claw attack attacks at like a 15-degree angle to the ground. And because of that, if you stand directly underneath him, which is 90 degrees underneath him, then he cannot hit you. No matter how hard he tries, he will never hit you. So that's the most important thing I can tell you for Rathalos. When he's in the air, when he's hovering in the air, stand right underneath and he cannot hit you. It's that, and that's why I've bought a greatsword, because it is the perfect time to build up a charge and hit him with it. This attack here that he does is kind of interesting. He flies around the arena and then comes back and swoops down at you. So you want to keep your eye on him, you want to wait. Let's also pay attention to the beautiful scaling here. I love this. It's always funny to me about the old Monster Hunter games. It's so good. So yeah, just wait, keep an eye on the angle of attack he's going to be using, and then just do the run and roll trick that I taught you in the Gravias episode, which will be linked up there if you want to check that out as well and see how that works. Really, you just run, and then at the last second, you let go and you roll. Lets you cover more ground without having to deal with the leap of faith and all of the kind of wasted time with that animation. So you see how he's kind of turning around here? I'm right underneath him. He is doing fireballs. They've all gone right over my head. I started charging too soon, though. We'll just go for a 2 charge on that, I guess. So he has all the typical Wyvern attacks. He does bite, as you saw, and as he helpfully demonstrated again. He has the tail swing, which he's doing. It's as if he's trained. He also charges. I promise that this is not pre-recorded. This is just very good luck. So yeah, the charge, I think, is the one you want to watch out for the most. When he's enraged, he will do it pretty much instantaneously, much like Kirin in the previous episode. You'll see him kind of size himself up. He'll kind of get in a very straight line to you, and then he'll charge, much like he just did there. So if you kind of see him kind of adjusting a little, like he'll adjust towards you and then he'll adjust again, that's your cue to either run through his legs or roll to the right or left. I wouldn't recommend running through the legs. His hitbox is not very forgiving on the charge, so I would say rolling is your best bet. Kind of see he kind of sized himself up there, kind of patting his feet a little. That's a good sign he's going to charge you. So usually, one thing we didn't get to see, which is kind of unfortunate, but if you run into him in Area 4, Wrathian will also show up in Area 4, and then you have the very fun game of evade the angry wyverns. Also, you can block roars if you didn't know that. That's what I just did there. It is a very useful tactic, especially with Tigrex, whose roars can hurt you. I believe I covered that in the Tigrex episode as well, although that was 9 years ago, so the memory fades. But anyway, there's the other attack that Rathalos will do, which is where he kind of leaps into the air, flies straight, and will damage anything underneath, kind of blow them away, much like a helicopter would. So that one's pretty quick when he's enraged, so be aware of that. But other than that, that's pretty much his entire moveset. Chopping off the tail is a good thing to do. It weakens his tail swing, makes it a lot harder for you to be hit by it. And you see, see there, I tried to roll through his legs, and it did nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, aim for the cat, please. Oh, and there is one thing too that we saw just a second ago. Not sure if you noticed, but when he's enraged, I think it might just be when he's enraged, he will. He has a move where he flaps backwards, kind of to readjust, mostly because he likes to fight at a range. But he will do that, and he will also shoot a fireball where he was standing when he's enraged. So he'll flap backwards and shoot a fireball at the same time. And if you aren't ready for that, it does a lot of damage. So what you want to do is you want to wait to hear him shoot his fireballs or try to claw you, and that's when you start your charge. Because if you get it right, which I didn't obviously, but if you do get it right, you'll hit him right as he's landing. And you can knock him out of the air, which creates a shiny. See there? He flapped backwards to reposition. Sometimes he'll shoot a fireball, sometimes he won't. It is best to err on the side of caution and assume that there is always a fireball coming for you. But yeah, there will be a lot of air time in Rathalos' fight, which is why I like Greatsword so much. He tried to claw me there, but he couldn't. The angle was too steep, so he clawed the air. I see there he kind of repositioned, so I knew that the moment my character stopped animating, I had to block. So I was just holding it the whole time, ready. The one important distinction to notice between Rathalos and Rathian, despite the color difference, is that Rathalos will only ever fire a single fireball, whereas Wrathian will fire either 1 or 3. It will fire 1 straight ahead, or it will fire 1 and then 1 on the right of that, and then 1 to the left of the first. So be aware of that, because that caught me off guard the first time I had to deal with both of them. I was expecting Wrathian to only fire 1, Wrathian fired 3, and that was not a good day. So here we are, Area 4. And sometimes when Rathalos shoots those 3 fireballs, it will move forward. So you want to make sure that you aren't... there we go, we knocked him out of the sky. Is he dead? I think he might be dead. So you can see how well the fire element, or the thunder element, helps you here. That was pretty quick for a Rathalos. Considering there's a lot of downtime with him flapping around in the air, shooting fireballs, trying to claw you and all of that. It's a pretty quick fight when you have this. Please go away, Banagra, I hate you. Alright, and here is Wrathian. Somewhere. I think she just went to the Area 3, maybe. We shall have to see. I'll need a ration too while we're at it. But yeah, Rathalos, not too bad. It does do a lot of damage. I would recommend upgrading your armor with some Armourstones, which I haven't done. Mainly because I fought Rathalos and Rathian so much I could probably do it blindfolded. But for your first attempt, I would probably bolster your defense just a little. Alright, Wrathian might be in Area 2. I don't think I've ever dealt with Wrathian in Area 9. I don't know if Wrathian goes there. But let's peek our head in anyway. Yeah, I don't think... This is more of a bird wyvern place than a proper large wyvern place. It's too narrow, too small. So I'm going to check Area 4 again. It could have been that the Wrathian was flying around and it looked like went to a different area but actually came back. Or maybe Wrathian could have gone to Area 5. That's another possibility, which is their nest. Rathalos and Wrathian's nest. So when they are hurt, both of them will typically, if you give them time to escape that is, typically go back here. Alright, Wrathian could be in Area 6 or Area 2. I haven't really dealt with Wrathian in Area 1. I don't know if that's an area they actually consider as a place they can go to. So let's go check Area 2. But yeah, so it's very difficult to get poisoned by Rathalos, sorry, because the only time he can poison you is with his claw attack, and as I've just shown you, you can make it so that never reasonably hits you ever. Whereas Wrathian, it's much easier to get poisoned by Wrathian. That is, if you can find the beast. Do we have our friendly neighborhood balloonist somewhere nearby? Is he in this area? I would have thought he would be. Let's go back to Area 3. This is the only thing that might make this quest go a little longer, is just trying to find them. If they don't spawn in Area 4, which they usually have for me, I'm surprised they didn't this time, then that can kind of make the quest go on a little longer. There's a chance I might cut this out of the recording, depending on how long it takes us to find Wrathian. We'll see. So if I do cut to us finding Wrathian, it'll be right about now. On the off chance I don't, I wish there was a balloonist. Ah, never mind, we found her. So I won't be cutting that out. But I will be doing this. Oh, no I won't. So, one thing you'll notice about Wrathian pretty much immediately is that her charges are a lot slower than Rathalos's. Wrathian's main damage dealing is from her charge and her poison, her tail swing. Her tail that she does, or actually, I guess I alternate between calling it a tail swipe and a tail swing, which is very confusing for everybody involved. I apologize. Oh, and there is another thing that both Rathalos and Wrathian can do, which I haven't had a chance to kind of show you yet. Which is where they move around by charging, so they can sometimes charge. Like, say there's a little bit of distance between me and Wrathian. Wrathian will charge to close the distance, which hits me, and then tail swing as well, because that was just the movement to do the damage, not the actual attack. So be aware of that. Standing in front is very dangerous. There is the tail swing. It's pretty easy to see it coming when she's not enraged. It still does a lot of damage. And the thing to be aware of with that is that if it hits you, it will poison you. There's those 3 fireballs I told you about. But yeah, if the tail swing hits you, it will poison you. Even if you cut Wrathian's tail off, as because you'd think cutting the barbs off would fix it, but it actually will still poison you even then. See, I've cut the tail off now. The barbs on the end are over here. But if you get hit by the tail swing, it will still poison you even after that. So just make sure that you are on your guard, no pun intended, when she's readying up for that attack. Basically, you want to make sure that you don't ever stand between her legs, if you can avoid it. And she will sometimes just do a chain of them, 1 or 2. I don't think I've ever seen 3. That's the rare I got landed on. That very rarely happens. I know that your Rathalos is here, but that had nothing to do with me. I promise. Other issue with fighting Wrathian is that it is very difficult to see her in these bushes. Oh, that should have hit me. I got lucky. Yeah, the kind of wind pressure from these two is quite irritating. And if you get caught in it, you just have to hope that you don't get hit, because you can't really react at all. Wind pressure, for anybody who doesn't know, is just the clouds of dust that comes off of them when they flap their wings or when they are landing. Just like that. That dust is wind pressure, and it can cause your character to get stuck in a kind of reacting animation. Alright, Wrathian is now enraged. Much faster. The wind-up on the tail swipe is much shorter, and therefore is much easier to get hit by it. And the other thing about Wrathian as well is that you kind of just have to have a fair fight, unfortunately. You don't have the opportunities that Rathalos has, because Wrathian never flies like that. So you kind of just have to hit it till it dies, unfortunately. The fireball attack is relatively easy to avoid. It also angles towards the ground. It's not in a completely perfect straight line. So sometimes, even if you might have gotten hit, it will just hit the ground before it hits you anyway. And that's the best way to avoid the tail swipe right there. If you see it being readied and you can't guard, roll to the left or the right and you will almost certainly not get hit. It can still get you every now and then, but it's pretty consistent that you can avoid it that way. See if we can't break her other wing claw as well. So the other thing about Rathalos Rathian, their heads can be broken, tails can be cut off, as you've seen. Wing claws, both of them can be broken, and that's pretty much it as far as breakability. That tail swing. See, tail swing, tail swipe. It's very similar, and I apologize for that. Tail swing is the 360 that the kind of backflip she does. Tail swipe is the normal thing that all of them do. Yeah, you see, that one could have hit me, but it didn't. I was trying to kill that Banabra, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. But yeah, and when both of them are enraged, you can kind of see smoke coming out of their mouths, and they will roar, so you have a nice kind of easy indicator to see that that's happening. Alright, Wrathian is pretty much almost dead. I mean, we haven't been in this area for very long. Ah, I missed. Looks like we'll be going back to their nest. We haven't been in this area very long. We've only been fighting her for about 5 minutes, and you can see the strength of the Kirin Thundersword. The elemental advantage is ridiculous. It is very, very good. And you can see why I only bought the 2 Demondrugs, the 2 Armourskins. I haven't even used them. Mainly because I was worried that if I used the Demondrug, the fight would be too quick. I wouldn't be able to tell you everything about them in the time that we had. And then also, one thing as well with these flash bombs is that they don't work when they're enraged. They have to be looking at where the flash happens for it to work. Apologies for the right flash. And if they're enraged, it doesn't work at all. There we go. That is Rathalos Rathian. Kind of an intimidating sounding quest when you first run into it in the quest list. 2 giant flying fire-breathing wyverns at the same time shouldn't be easy. But if you can deal with Kirin, which if you watched last week's episode, you should be able to. Like I said then, it is a reasonably difficult fight, but it's not too bad, as long as you learn the pattern. You can get this Thundersword, which makes mincemeat out of these two. The other option you have as well is to maybe get the Kizu sword, which is another good option. It just does not have as much sharpness or as much thunder element. So I would recommend this one if you can get it, but if not, the Kizu Greatsword is a good second fiddle, to be honest. And like I said, Greatswords work because of the Rathalos trick that you can do, where you can get pretty much 3 charges every time he goes into the sky. But pretty much any weapon will work against these guys. It's not, there's no like gimmicks, there's no extremely hard shells or anything like that. Maneuverability is important, but you can complete the quest fairly easily with a Greatsword as long as you don't, as long as you sheath it whenever you need to move. So I would say pretty much any weapon is a good choice as long as you stick to the elemental advantage. I remember mentioning this back in the day. Elemental advantages become pretty much the most important thing you can worry about at a certain point, and we are past that point. So start figuring out elemental advantages, elemental weaknesses, and start using those to your advantage, and it will make these quests a lot easier. And that's going to do it for today. So I hope you found something interesting here. I hope this helped you. If it did, go ahead and subscribe or hit the notification so you can see when we tackle the next large monster of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. If this did help, let me know. If there's any questions you have or if there's any improvements you want me to make, please do tell me. I do want to keep making these better as we go along. So any feedback is welcome. And that'll do it. I'm on Twitch. I have a Discord channel, both in the description if you want to kind of chat about Monster Hunter, talk about the new Rise expansion, or any other game, really. There are a lot of good games out there, and Monster Hunter is definitely one of them. But yeah, that'll do it. Happy hunting, and I shall see you next time.